This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Spring calls for a wardrobe refresh, and Nordstrom has the best styles of the season. From dresses and denim to standout tops and accessories, find the trends and essentials that feel right for you. Discover new arrivals from brands you love like Wave, Princess Polly, Mango, Adidas, and Free People. Plus, free shipping and returns and free styling appointments make everything so easy. Shop in stores at Nordstrom.com or download the Nordstrom app.
Good things come in fours, like ukulele strings, boy band members, and PayPal Pay in 4. No fees, no interest, no impact on your credit score. Just the flexibility to pay the way that works for you. Strum it, hum it, pay it in 4. Download the PayPal app to get started. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payin4. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
He was driving terrifyingly fast and headed straight towards me. I quickly glanced at the muddy water off to the side of the road and weighed my options.
They were posted up all over the road, as far as I could see. They showed no signs of going anywhere. None of them even looked at me. I was clearly a trespasser here.
From Killer Podcasts. True tales of horror, bizarre happenings, unexplainable events. This is Disturbed. Hello, and welcome back to the show. This week, we have 4 creepy experiences that will keep you looking over your shoulder. So sit back, listen closely, and dive into the horror. In our first story, a benign encounter turns into a race for survival. Narrated by John Bell from Reddit user Hubs50644.
Back in 1984, when I was around 11 or 12 years old, I decided to go on a long bicycle ride on a Sunday afternoon. I planned a route that would take me to my grandparents' cabin 5 miles from town and back. So I filled my water bottle, grabbed a few snacks, and hit the road. I lived in a small Iowa town with a population of roughly 6,000, so it wasn't long before I reached the city limits. About a mile beyond the city limits was a small river access park where I decided to stop and rest. I took a seat on a bench in a large green space and enjoyed just staring at the jetty where people were fishing. I had been there for a while, eating a snack and drinking some water, when I saw a red, mid to late 1970s Chevy Monte Carlo driving into the park. The car circled once, then the driver parked and got out. It was a man, perhaps in his mid-30s, with dark hair and a full beard. He approached me as I sat at a picnic table and started chatting me up. He asked me what I was doing and how old I was. As a naive youngster, I told him I was out for a bike ride and had just stopped for a quick rest before moving on. I also told him my age and some other things. He then said that he needed to pee, so I pointed him toward the restroom on the other side of the park, which was visible from where we were. He excused himself, walked to the restroom, and disappeared inside. I kept watching the boats on the river for maybe 5 or 10 minutes before I glanced over at the restroom. I saw the man standing just outside the restroom door, staring at me. In my mind, I thought that he couldn't actually be staring, because who does that? I looked away for a couple of minutes, and when I looked back toward the restroom, the man was gone. He hadn't left the park because his car was still there, so I assumed he was still inside the restroom. I then decided to continue on my bike ride, dismissing what I had seen a few minutes before. It wasn't long after I left the park when I heard a car approaching me from behind. When it passed, I saw it was the red Monte Carlo, so I just waved and continued on my way. Maybe 10 minutes later, I saw the red car driving toward me again. I waved once more as it passed, and the man driving waved back. Around that time, I began to think that something was not right. Why had he driven past me twice already? Could it just be a coincidence? I wanted to think so, and continued on my way toward my grandpa's cabin. Then, after several more minutes, the red car passed me again. Now I was scared. I needed to get somewhere I'd be safe from this guy. By then, I was closer to my grandpa's cabin than I was to town, so I decided to continue on. However, the closer I got to the cabin, the more remote the area became. If he wanted to hurt me, I was making it easier for him. That thought sent adrenaline through my veins. I started pedaling as fast as I could, but after another 10 minutes, he was back. This time, he was speeding. Again, I waved at the man, trying to hide my nerves, thinking that if he was a bad guy, he would know that I saw him and was aware of his presence. Eventually, my route turned from a paved highway onto a gravel road. I was surrounded by a wooded, low-lying river bottom and still about 1.5 miles away from my grandpa's cabin. Another 15, and he was back, coming from the other direction. At this point, he was driving terrifyingly fast and headed straight towards me. I quickly glanced at the muddy water off to the side of the road and weighed my options as he quickly drew closer. Veering off the road and probably into the water wasn't going to be comfortable, but it beat getting hit and killed by this maniac. I gripped the handlebars tight, bracing myself for the pain, but right before I could turn, he swerved back into his lane. He flew by, barely missing me. I was terrified, but I knew I was so close to the cabin. I kept pedaling at full speed and reached it before the man could show up again. Once I made it to my grandpa's cabin, I discovered there was nobody there, and it was locked up tight. My water bottle was empty, and I wanted to refill it before riding back to town, so I started trying to get in through a window or another door. As I poked around trying to get inside, I saw my grandpa's brother walking toward me. He also had a cabin nearby. I greeted him with a hello, expecting he would recognize me right away. Instead, he began yelling at me for trespassing on private property, accusing me of trying to break into cabins and so on. I didn't expect my uncle to rage at me like he did, so when he finally asked who I was, I simply told him my name. When he realized who I was, he immediately changed his tone and apologized for not recognizing me. I told him I was just trying to get some water before riding back home, and he invited me into his cabin. I was pretty upset after getting yelled at by a family elder, so I declined his offer and immediately left for home on my bike. Because I was so upset, I didn't tell my uncle about the man in the red car. I hadn't made it more than a couple of miles after leaving the cabins when I saw my mom driving toward me. She stopped, reloaded my bike into the car, and headed home. Mom told me that my uncle had called her and said that I rode my bike to the cabins, that he confronted me, and that I was upset when I left. She gave me holy hell for not telling anyone where I was going before I left the house. She was also mad because it was starting to get dark, and I could have been hit by a car. Since Mom was so mad at me, I decided not to tell her about the man in the red car. I thought that if she knew I had been followed by a stranger, she would never let me ride alone again. I simply buried the memory and forgot all about it without telling a soul. In hindsight, I wish I had told someone, because it was around that same time in the 1980s when two kids around my age, Johnny Ghosh and Eugene Martin, went missing in Iowa. To this day, I wonder if the man in the red car could have been the person who abducted those other kids.
We'll be right back. This time of year always makes me rethink what I actually wear. I try to keep fewer things, but better ones. Pieces that are easy to throw on, feel good, and hold up over time. That's why I keep coming back to Quince. Quince makes high-quality, everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen, and my favorite, their flow-knit activewear. It's moisture-wicking, anti-odor, and soft enough to wear all day. I've worn my flow-knit zip hoodie at least once a week for the past few months. It's warm, cozy, and stretches in all the right places for comfort. The best part is the price. Quince items are about 50 to 60% less than similar brands because they work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen. You are paying for quality, not markup. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/disturbed for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to quince.com/disturbed for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/disturbed. I don't know about you, but I like keeping my money where I can see it. Unfortunately, traditional big wireless carriers seem to like keeping it too. For a long time, I was overpaying for wireless, dealing with high bills, random fees, and perks that did not actually save me anything. Eventually, I got fed up and switched to Mint Mobile. I've been a Mint Mobile user for 3 years now, and I can't recommend it enough to my friends, family, and you, disturbed listeners. Mint exists to fix the whole overpaying for wireless problem. Their premium plan starts at just $15 a month. You get high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. I kept my phone, kept my number, activated with eSIM in minutes, and that was it. No contracts, no hassle. Compared to what I was paying before, the savings add up fast. Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/disturbed. That's mintmobile.com/disturbed. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Next, an unstable roommate at a hostel terrifies a group of travelers. Narrated by Alberto Henriquez. From Reddit user Important Manor 834.
This happened in Berlin in 2022. The Russia-Ukraine war had just started, so Berlin was full of refugees arriving by train. That becomes important later. 2 of my friends and I had just arrived in Germany for what was going to be a week-long trip. We were staying in this hostel near Hermannplatz in a 4-person room with a private bathroom. When we checked in, the room was empty, so we assumed no one else was coming. We went out for beers, came back late, and it was still empty. We thought we got really lucky. Late that night, the door, which didn't have a lock, suddenly opened. A man walked in and set down his things. We quickly realized he was our 4th roommate and got to talking with him in English. He was from Kharkiv, Ukrainian, or maybe pro-Russian Ukrainian. It was hard to tell after our brief discussion. He immediately felt off. He was nervous, talking a lot, and clearly stressed. We thought maybe he was just anxious and tired. Time passed. My friends were now fast asleep, but I was still up talking to him at 3 a.m. I sat on my bed and he sat on a chair by the window, enjoying our 5th floor view out a large open window. Eventually, I told him politely that we planned to go to museums early and that it would be good for me to sleep or at least keep it quiet. He said, okay. I turned off the lights and lied down and he headed to the bathroom. A bit later, I hear weird knocking sounds. Soft at first, then louder, then one really loud bang, and silence. I got up, obviously worried, and walked to the bathroom door where the sounds were coming from. The door was slightly open, and I could see my new roommate on the floor, next to a small toiletry bag. I asked if he was okay, but he dismissively told me yes and to leave him alone. I went back to bed, but I was anxious. Had he fallen and hurt himself? Was he okay? Why were there so many knocks beforehand? He came out of the bathroom and, out of nowhere, started doing exercises. I kid you not, stretching, push-ups, then sprinting inside the room. Then he ran out of the room and I heard him running up and down the hostel hallway. At this point, I'm just staring at the ceiling like, what the hell is happening? He came back, said he was hot, and opened the window. It was April and a bit chilly out, so I wasn't really happy about that. He then walked across the room to the door and spun around. After a moment, he took off running straight towards the window. In one fluid stride, he jumped up onto the chair, then onto the desk, and suddenly, he was completely outside, standing on the window ledge, holding the frame with both hands. I was panicking, but I knew better than to scream. If I startled him, he could fall. I walked towards him slowly and calmly told him to get down. I have it under control, he said. If you try to touch me, I will fall. He wasn't aggressive, but something about him was off. I stepped back, worried that it was a threat rather than a warning, and kept talking. I don't even really remember what I said after that point. It was so stressful that it's all kind of a blur, but eventually he stepped down. As soon as he did, I rushed to the window and closed it. I told him how dangerous it was and told him he couldn't do that again. He agreed, seemingly unfazed. We both went to bed after that. I closed my eyes and did some breathing techniques to try to calm myself down. Just a few minutes later, I heard him get up. I immediately turned over to look, and there he was, standing in the open window again. This time I lost it. "Don't do this," I shouted. That made my friends jolt awake. After realizing what was happening, one of them was in so much shock that she couldn't speak. The other helped me talk him off the edge again. We also talked a bit in our native language so he couldn't understand, and agreed we needed to tell the front desk what was happening. Meanwhile, he apologized, said he will not do it again, and asked us to leave him alone. We hesitate because he's clearly going through something and is probably a refugee. We, stupidly, give him one more chance. Not 5 minutes later, he was back at the window. This time he said he was doing it for the adrenaline. We were done at this point. I stayed near the window, ready to grab him if he tried anything stupid, while my friend headed to reception. After a few minutes, he gave me a call and told me and my other friend to come down and join him. We left the Ukrainian alone in the room and headed downstairs. In the lobby, we learned that they called the police. All three of us were a mess at this point, and the receptionist literally gave us beers to calm down. The police arrived with an ambulance, a stretcher, and a whole bunch of people in uniforms. they went up to our room and found him sleeping. For some reason, they left him there and came back to tell us that everything was fine. We insisted that it wasn't, and that when he woke up, he was going to do it again. It took us showing them photos and a few videos of the incident for them to finally take it seriously. They took statements from us, woke him up, and escorted him off the property. We didn't get any sleep that night, but by the afternoon, we were so physically and emotionally tired that we all crashed. The hostel gave us free breakfast while we were there, which was nice, and we did our best to cope and not let this derail our whole trip. Except, his stuff was still in the room, his backpack and toiletry bag. Eventually, my curiosity got the better of me, and I took a glance through later. I immediately regretted it. Inside was some kind of drug, white paste in a syringe without a needle. We should have told reception immediately, but we were exhausted and just wanted to sleep. Next morning, we go to breakfast early. We planned to go straight to museums. I had left my thick jacket in the room thinking it wouldn't be cold. I was wrong, so I went back alone to grab it. I opened the door, and he's back. Same guy, same window. This time, wearing his backpack. Inside the backpack, stuffed in aggressively, are my flip-flops that I had left outside my locker. I didn't say a word. I grabbed my flip-flops and walked straight out. I ran to reception where my friends were waiting and told the woman at the front desk he was back. Turns out the police never took his room key. He was released and came back to get his things. Unreal. That was the last time we saw him. We went to museums and finished the trip without anything else happening. I don't remember his name, and honestly, I would not be surprised if he wasn't alive anymore. Looking back, I should have woken my friends up earlier, but I was just trying to de-escalate and go to bed. It's that kind of thing where you're afraid to make a fuss. I'm also still unsure if he was under the influence of the stuff we found in his bag. It didn't seem like it at the time, but that would definitely explain his behavior. Anyways, that was a wild way to start a vacation.
So you're saying with Hilton Honors, I can use points for a free night stay anywhere?
Anywhere.
What about fancy places like the Canopy in Paris?
Yeah, Hilton Honors, baby.
Or relaxing sanctuaries like the Conrad in Tulum?
Hilton Honors, baby.
Ooh, what about the 5-star Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives?
Are you gonna do this for all 9,000 properties?
When you want points that can take you anywhere, anytime, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay. Book your spring break now.
You know you need fiber for a healthy gut, but do you actually know how to get it? Quaker's been serving up fiber since 1877, with over 100 great-tasting, good source of fiber options to choose from. Whether you like old-fashioned oats, instant oatmeal, granola, or oatmeal squares, Quaker makes it delicious. So good. Get your fiber with Quaker. Shop Quaker's good source of fiber products at a store near you.
Welcome back to the show. In our final story, something inexplicable happens out in the Great Plains. Narrated by Maxwell Glick from Reddit user Carry Out Thoughts.
I'm a photographer, and a few years ago, I had a somewhat unusual gig that brought me up close to something that I still don't know what it was. All I know is that I can't shake the thought of it from my head. My job at the time took me all over. I was taking pictures of undeveloped parcels of land for real estate investors. That way they could see exactly what they were going to be buying. It was a really fun job, but it wasn't as easy as it sounds. The photography itself wasn't particularly challenging, but getting to that point could be a nightmare. A lot of the time, I'd have to park my car by the side of the highway and then hike out to the parcels because there was no road access. I'd then be finding my way through unfamiliar terrain using maps that were outdated at best and straight up wrong at worst. Sometimes I'd have to deal with the locals. The nice ones were just curious and a bit talkative. Some of them were hostile and aggressive, though. But I got a lot of time in nature, which I loved, so I never complained. After one particular trip, though, I suddenly didn't feel quite so safe being on my own. It happened on my first trip out of state. I live in Colorado, and the land I needed to photograph was in Rawlins, Wyoming. Not a big deal, it's the next state over. But it was still gonna take me about 6 or 7 hours to get there, though, and I knew from experience that finding the right piece of land could be a time-consuming nightmare. So I decided that I'd drive through the night and arrive early in the morning to give myself as much daylight as possible. I slept the whole day in preparation, waking up for a big meal and a final check of my supplies. I downloaded the maps I'd need, as well as some GPS satellite images to help me navigate once I got to Rawlins. Then I hit the road around 11 p.m., well-rested and well-fed. The drive was going well for the first 4 hours or so. I had plenty of snacks on the seat beside me, a thermos of hot coffee in the cup holder, and my favorite music blaring. I drove through a windy mountain pass, enjoying the serenity and the moonlit view as I pulled further and further from civilization. I was still in Colorado, somewhere between Kremling and Walden, when I hit a fog bank. Not a light, misty kind of fog. This was dense, the kind that makes the air look chewable. I knew it wasn't likely that any other cars would be on the road just then, but I still slowed right down, just in case. I'm glad I did, because just as I steered around a particularly sharp bend in the mountain road, my headlights lit up something that was definitely not fog. It was elk, an entire, huge herd of them. They were posted up all over the road, as far as I could see. I brought my car to a stop a few feet from the elk, hoping they'd decide to move. But they showed no signs of going anywhere. None of them even looked at me. At this point, I turned my music down because being stopped on the road like that, it sounded so much louder. I just got the vibe I was disturbing something by being there, even though all I could see was the elk. So I'm sitting there, with my music down low, waiting for this massive herd of animals to clear a path. I tried flashing my lights at them a few times, and even honked once, but I didn't dare do it again. I was clearly a trespasser here. Still, I kept thinking about how I needed to get moving before some other driver turned the corner at speed and rear-ended me. I also wanted to get out of this fog. The longer I sat there, the more unnerved I became. I was starting to sweat, and there was this growing nausea at the pit of my stomach. Not knowing what else to do, I rolled my window down and hollered at the elk, "Get a job!" I was met with that particular silence that only heavy fog or snow brings. It was broken only by the occasional shuffle from one of the elk, who were still not paying any attention to me. But about a minute later, I heard it. My own voice bouncing back to me through the fog. It was unmistakable, My words had sailed to me from the opposite side of the herd, the direction I was driving. But it couldn't have been an echo. It'd taken too long. But that wasn't all. The elk, they very much paid attention to this voice. As soon as they heard it, they started moving as one, bolting past my car. One of them slammed into my side mirror, nearly knocking it clean off. They were moving so quickly that I couldn't help feeling like they'd been spooked, like there was something behind them. Now, you can't see a whole herd of big, intimidating animals running like that without feeling a little wary. Those elk were running scared. I just knew it. But of what? Once the road in front of me was clear, I hovered my foot over the gas. I needed to keep going, but I couldn't bring myself to push ahead. Something had repeated my own words back to me, had mimicked my voice and scattered dozens of elk. What if it was waiting for me in the fog? My hands squeezed the steering wheel as I peered through the glass, trying to catch a glimpse of anything, but there was nothing. Eventually, I shook myself out of it and drove on, slowly at first, but then picking up speed. I kept my music down low until I could see the fog starting to thin around me. I reached down to turn the volume back up, and as my eyes returned to the road, I gasped. There was something in my rear-view mirror. It was close. It had to be lit up by my taillights. It was big and hulking and moving fast. I screamed, but then, as quickly as it appeared, it vanished back into the fog. Seconds later, the night air was clear around me. I kept one eye on my mirror, expecting something to still be back there, chasing me, but I was alone. Did something chase me out of that fog? I don't know, but as soon as I was out of it, the nausea went away, and that nagging feeling that I was somewhere I shouldn't have gone went with it. Looking back, I wonder if it had all been a warning. The fog, the elk, the nausea. I wasn't welcome there. I'd disturbed something by driving that way so late at night. 2 days later, I took a different route home. Whatever was in those mountains, I didn't want to cross its path again.
New episodes of Disturbed drop every Thursday. If you love the show, consider becoming a member to access early and ad-free episodes. There you can also access our exclusive monthly series, A Night by the Campfire, where we share the scariest stories we can find from professional authors. A few episodes have been released here for free, so scroll down and listen. I'm your host, Doug Bailey, and this has been Disturbed. If you have a story you'd like to share, email us at mystory@disturbedpodcast.com or post on our subreddit, r/disturbedpodcast. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and leaving a review. Disturbed is a production of Killer Podcasts and part of the Evergreen Network. For more true crime and paranormal shows, visit killerpodcasts.com. Our producer is Declan Roars. Audio engineering by Nathan Corson, Sean Rule Hoffman, and Will Pritz. Music by Epidemic Sound and by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Bridget Coyne is our executive producer. Until next time, stay safe out there.
The right window treatments change everything: your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 5-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off site-wide, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Do you like a good ghost story? Maybe you wonder what it would be like to communicate with the other side. Well, put your Ouija boards away and just listen to Rattled and Shook. I'm your host, Meredith, and we've got a new season of Rattled and Shook available now, including themed episodes, guests, games, and immersive creepy stories sent in by real people about haunted hotels, satanic panic, and ghosts galore. A new season of Rattled and Shook is available now wherever you get your podcasts.